Thank you. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. It is a real pleasure to be with you here today. I'm so pleased to be able to join and participate with you to stand up for the courage and the bravery of the people of Iran. We gather to support them in their great struggle to overthrow this dictatorship and replace it with something better. Before I begin my remarks, though, I want to say a special hello to anyone watching from Ashraf 3, all of our friends. And I know there are literally thousands of people watching from within Iran, and I have a simple message for you. Canadians stand with you in this great struggle. Like all of you, I have been inspired by the bravery of the literally millions of Iranians who have taken to the streets to try and peacefully overthrow this fascist dictatorship in Tehran. Women, teachers, unions, millions of students, and especially supporters of the MEK. They're tired of the corruption, they're tired of the mismanagement, and they're tired of the authoritarianism of their terrible government. They are sending a clear and unequivocal message to the mullahs. It's time for you to go. I see a number of my former colleagues from Parliament with us today, and we all got involved in public service to try to make a difference. And I can tell you, one of the proudest moments that I had in public life, especially working with Stephen Harper, was the day that I was able to announce that we had kicked all the mullahs, henchmen, and spokespeople out of Canada once and for all. We didn't want to deal with this murderous regime. We stood up against their nuclear program, where the regime has funneled literally billions of dollars from the well-being and care of the Iranian people into its nuclear program. We stood up against their material support of terrorism around the world. And we stood up in their effort to hold them accountable at the United Nations for their egregious and terrible human rights record. We stood up and said that this regime was not a moderate regime. We stood up against this regime, that it was not one that you could do business with, and we sent a strong message to the rest of the world about what it means to be a Canadian. The uprising in Iran is deep-rooted in the 40 years of struggle of the Iranian people. The uprising is not a spontaneous phenomenon. It is rooted in the history of Iran. The 120,000 executions, the massacre of 30,000 political prisoners because they were steadfast in their support for the MEK. The leading role of the Iranian women is not incidental or coincidence, but it derives from the struggle of the Iranian women over the last 43 years. During the past 43 years, tens of thousands of Iranian women, mainly MEK supporters and their supporters, have been imprisoned, tortured, and thousands have been executed. And I look around at each of these faces that is behind us. Every single one of them tells a story of determination, of courage, and of bravery. And we stand with these remarkable martyrs in their struggle. The leading role of the Iranian women in this uprising is the Iranian Resistance, the National Council of Resistance of Iran. The MEK women have been playing leading roles in the MEK for 30 years. The NCRI president is a woman of high quality who has been recognized worldwide for her confidence and her leadership and her principled opposition to this dictatorship and her democratic coalition. The Iranian people want an end to dictatorship, and they are chanting in the streets in Tehran and across the country, in every corner of Iran, down with the oppressors, be it the Shah or the mullahs. Like many of you, I have been inspired by Madame Rajavi's 10-point plan freedom of expression and assembly, the separation of religion and state, gender equality, a non-nuclear Iran, one that can live in peaceful coexistence with its neighbors and with the civilized world. It's really my high honor and my distinct pleasure to introduce our next speaker. I've got to know this remarkable woman over the last 10 years. I've got to see her up close. I've seen what inspires her, and I've seen her bravery. Every single day that she gets up and goes to work, she's putting her own life on the lines because the regime wants to silence her. But they will not silence her. She is a remarkable woman of extraordinary courage, the President-elect of the National Council of Resistance of Iran, Madame Miriam Rajavi.